Hello and welcome. Tonight we are going to take a long, slow journey into deep relaxation. We have plenty of time ahead of us. There is nowhere else you need to be and nothing else you need to do. The world outside has slowed down, and now it is time for you to do the same. This time is entirely yours. It is a sanctuary where you can rest, reset, and simply let go. So make yourself comfortable. Adjust your pillows until they feel just right. Pull the blanket up to your chin, creating a warm, safe cocoon around you. Allow your body to take up all the space it needs. Close your eyes and let the day fade away. Now, bring your attention to your breath. Do not try to change it, just notice it. Feel the cool air entering your nose, filling your lungs, and the warm air leaving. With every breath out, feel a little more weight sinking into the mattress. Visualize a soft, golden light hovering just above your head. This light is warm, soothing, and heavy with sleep. Imagine it slowly touching the top of your head, relaxing your scalp. It flows down over your forehead, smoothing out any lines of worry. It touches your eyes, and your eyelids feel heavy, so heavy that they feel safely closed for the night. Let the warmth flow down into your cheeks and your jaw. Unclench your teeth. Let your tongue rest gently on the floor of your mouth. Feel the tension melting away from your neck and your shoulders. Let your shoulders drop down, away from your ears, as if a heavy weight has been lifted off you. Feel the golden light flowing down your arms, past your elbows, into your wrists, and all the way to the tips of your fingers. Your hands are resting peacefully. Notice your chest rising and falling, slow and steady, like the gentle waves of a calm ocean. Now, let that relaxation flow down to your hips, your legs, your knees, and all the way down to your feet. From the top of your head to the tips of your toes, your entire body is soft, heavy, and deeply asleep. You are grounded. You are safe. Now that your body is at rest, let your mind travel with me. Transport yourself back in time to a small, quiet village in ancient Greece. Imagine you are lying in a peaceful garden in this village. The air around you is fresh and cool. It carries the scent of salt from the nearby sea, mixed with the earthy smell of olive trees. It is nighttime here, but it is not a dark or scary night. It is a beautiful velvet darkness. Without any city lights, the sky above is an endless canvas of deep indigo, stretching out into eternity. The village itself is sleeping. The small houses are built of white stone, and they glow softly in the moonlight, scattered along the hillside like pearls. Everything is still. The only sound is the wind whispering through the cypress trees, and the distant rhythmic sound of the ocean waves rolling onto the shore. In this peaceful village lived a man known as the Astronomer. He lived in a small, simple house near the top of the hill. While the rest of the village slept, enjoying their dreams, he was wide awake. He sat at his window night after night, staring up into the vast, empty expanse of the universe. Let's step inside the astronomer's home. It was a humble place, quiet and still. Inside, the walls were bare, painted a clean, crisp white that seemed to glow in the dim light. There was a sturdy wooden desk facing the window, a stiff chair, and a narrow bed where he slept during the bright, noisy hours of the day. He had no clock on the wall, for he didn't need one. The movement of the stars told him everything he needed to know about time. Every evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the astronomer would just be waking up. While his neighbors were finishing their suppers and lighting candles, he was rubbing the sleep from his eyes, preparing for his work. He would wash his face with cool water from a ceramic basin. The cold water woke up his senses, washing away the grogginess of his sleep. Then he would dress in his long dark robes, robes the color of the midnight sky he loved so much. He often brewed a pot of herbal tea, sipping it slowly as he watched the shadows lengthen across his floor. He was waiting for the light to fade completely, waiting for the curtain of night to fall. Once the last bird had stopped singing and the village had gone quiet, he would step out of his door. The air outside was always different at night. It was crisper, cleaner. It felt like a secret that only he knew. He would walk away from the village, his sandals crunching softly on the dry, rocky path. He walked away from the warm yellow light of the houses, heading towards the open fields where nothing obstructed his view. To him, the village life seemed small. The farmers worried about their crops, the fishermen worried about the tide. But the astronomer felt he belonged to something bigger. He would find his favorite spot on a grassy hill, lay out his parchment, and look up. Ah, there they were, the stars, thousands of them, millions, scattered like diamond dust across the black void. He saw patterns that others ignored. He saw the hunter with his belt of 3 bright stars. He saw the great bear prowling silently in the north. He saw the faint, milky band of the galaxy stretching like a river across the sky. For hours, he would just sit there. The wind was often cold, but he didn't feel it. He was too lost in the beauty above. He thought he knew everything worth knowing. He thought the sky held all the magic, and the earth was just a place to stand while he looked at better things. But he was wrong. And soon, he was about to find out just how much he was missing. One night, the air was particularly clear. The moon was a thin crescent, allowing the faintest stars to shine with piercing brightness. The astronomer was walking his usual route, his head tilted back, his eyes tracing the path of a falling star. He was so captivated by the heavens that he completely forgot about the ground beneath his feet. He didn't see the large, moss-covered log lying across the path. In one moment he was floating among the galaxies, and in the next he stumbled. The world tilted, and he fell onto the soft, damp grass with a heavy thud. He wasn't hurt, but he was tangled in his robes, confused and suddenly very aware of the earth he had ignored. As he tried to untangle himself, he heard a sound nearby. It wasn't the wind or an animal. It was footsteps. A warm, yellow light approached him, bobbing gently in the darkness. It was his neighbor, an old man who lived a few houses down. The neighbor held a lantern in one hand and reached out his other hand to help the astronomer up. "My friend," the neighbor said, his voice kind and steady. "You spend so much time looking at the stars, searching for secrets so far away, that you fail to see what is right in front of you." The astronomer brushed the dirt from his robes. He looked at the neighbor, then at the lantern, and finally down at the log he had tripped over. For the first time, he felt a strange sense of emptiness. He realized that while he knew the names of all the constellations, he didn't know the name of this neighbor. He knew the map of the sky, but he couldn't navigate the simple path behind his own home. The neighbor smiled gently and patted him on the shoulder before continuing on his way. The astronomer stood there for a long time. The stars were still beautiful, but suddenly they felt cold and distant. He realized he had been living half a life. He had been so busy looking up that he had missed everything else. He returned to his small white house, but this time he did not go to his desk. He did not write down his observations. Instead, He lay down on his bed. For years he had slept as soon as the sun rose. But this morning, as the first gray light of dawn began to creep through his window, he made a choice. He decided to stay awake. He decided to see what the world looked like when the stars went to sleep. The sun rose, painting the village in a warm golden light. Usually the astronomer would be asleep by now, curtains drawn tight against the day. But today he opened his door and stepped out. The air was different from the night. It wasn't cool and silent. It was warm and alive. He heard the birds singing, a cheerful melody that he had never really listened to before. He saw the way the sunlight danced on the leaves of the olive trees, turning them from dark shadows into vibrant, shimmering green. As he stood there blinking in the light, the same neighbor who had helped him the night before waved to him. "Come," the neighbor called out. "Join us for breakfast." The astronomer walked over to the neighbor's garden table. For the first time, he noticed the smells. Oh, the smells were wonderful. There was the aroma of freshly baked bread, still warm from the oven. It smelled of yeast and comfort. Beside it was a pot of strong, dark coffee, sending up curls of steam into the morning air. He sat down, and the neighbor handed him a piece of bread. It was crusty on the outside, but soft and doughy on the inside. He took a bite. The crunch was followed by the warm, simple taste of the wheat. He paired it with a slice of hard, salty cheese. The flavors mixed in his mouth, the saltiness of the cheese and the sweetness of the bread. He took a sip of the coffee. It was hot, rich, and earthy. He closed his eyes, letting the warmth travel down his chest. How long had it been since he truly tasted his food? In his rush to study the stars, he had forgotten the simple pleasure of a meal shared with a friend. After breakfast, they walked down the village lane. The ground felt different under his feet. The sun had warmed the earth, and he could feel that gentle heat rising through his sandals. They passed a woman selling fruit from a small wooden stand. She smiled and squeezed fresh oranges into a cup for him. The scent of orange blossoms filled the air, citrusy, floral, and bright. He took a sip. The juice was cool and impossibly sweet, like drinking liquid sunshine. He thought to himself, "The stars are beautiful, yes, but you cannot drink the stars." In that moment, the glittering constellations he loved so much seemed only half as sweet as this simple cup of juice. The earth, he realized, had its own kind of magic. The journey continued. The neighbors led the astronomer to a small hidden garden tucked behind a stone wall. It belonged to the fruit seller's niece, and it was a masterpiece of nature. The moment they stepped inside, the astronomer was struck by the colors. For years, his world had been black and white, the black sky and the white stars. But here, life exploded in every shade imaginable. He saw a wooden archway covered in deep red blooms. They were vibrant and velvety. He stood under the arch, smelling the mix of pine wood and sweet nectar. He knelt down to look at a patch of purple irises. He had walked past these flowers 1,000 times before, but he had never truly looked at them. Now he saw the delicate white circles surrounding their yellow centers. He saw orange lilies standing tall like flames, and white orchids that looked as fragile as clouds. He realized that the earth had constellations of its own, growing right out of the soil. As the sun climbed higher and the day grew warmer, the group moved towards the temple of Apollo. The temple was grand, with tall marble columns reaching up towards the blue sky. The astronomer stepped off the dusty road and onto the temple floor. Immediately, he felt a change. The marble was cool beneath his feet, a refreshing relief from the heat of the day. He walked slowly into the shade of the pillars. It was quiet here. A gentle breeze wound its way through the stone columns, keeping the air fresh. He leaned against a pillar and just stood still. For so long he had been obsessed with movement, the movement of the planets, the rotation of the stars. But here, in the cool shade, he learned the value of stillness. He enjoyed the feeling of just existing. He ran his hand over the smooth, cold stone of the temple wall, admiring the carvings made by artists long ago. He realized that he didn't always need to be searching for answers. Sometimes it was enough to just be present right here, right now. Right. As the sun began to drift lower in the sky, turning the horizon into a blaze of orange and gold, the neighbors came to fetch the astronomer one last time. There was one more thing they wanted to share with him. Together, they walked up the winding path of the small mountain next to the village. The path was narrow, lined with fragrant shrubs that rustled in the evening breeze. The group carried blankets and baskets. When they reached a flat plateau at the top, they spread out the blankets on the soft grass. It was a community feast. The farmers brought fresh vegetables, the fishermen brought salted herring, and there were bowls of olives and roasted barley. The astronomer sat in the middle of it all. He watched the people laughing and talking. He listened to the stories of their lives, stories he had ignored for so many years. He realized that the music of their voices was just as beautiful as the silence of space. He ate slowly, savoring the burst of flavor from the olives and the sweetness of the honey-drenched fruit. He felt full. He felt warm. He felt connected. Slowly the sky turned from blue to purple, and then to the deep, familiar black. The stars began to appear one by one, twinkling in their eternal dance. The astronomer looked up. They were just as magnificent as always. But this time he didn't feel the urgent need to study them. He didn't need to measure their distance or chart their course. He simply let them be. He realized he could love the stars without leaving the earth behind. He could have both the mystery of the heavens and the comfort of his home. A deep sense of contentment settled over him, heavier and more comforting than any blanket. His eyes grew heavy, mirroring the sleepy village below. The sounds of the conversation faded into a gentle hum. The cool mountain air felt like a soft caress on his skin. He lay back on the grass, looking up not as a scholar but just as a man who was happy to be exactly where he was. And so, under the watchful gaze of the constellations he loved, the astronomer closed his eyes. He breathed in the peace of the night, and he drifted into a deep, dreamless slumber.